Hey guys, so this is going to be a little bit of a different video. I did a poll on Instagram and I asked you guys if you wanted me to explain basically nitrogen cycle and how ecosystems are formed in aquariums basically. There's way more in-depth information to it, but I'm just going to give you guys like the basic dumbed down version of it, I guess. So yeah, basically, a lot of people get aquariums and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna throw water in it, some fish in it, and everything will be fine. And that's completely not true. I tell a lot of people, I'm like, you have to think about it as like you're creating a mini lake in a way, I guess, if that makes sense. So you do want to create an ecosystem so it can kind of partially sustain itself in between maintenance and things like that. Your filter on your aquarium is not going to do everything you need to keep it maintained. But we'll get to that in a few. So basically, let's say you get an aquarium, you set it up, put water in it, you got your filter going. Once you put water conditioner or a dechlorinator, something to remove the chlorine and the chemicals out of the tap water, it creates like a perfect condition for bacteria to start to grow and develop and multiply. So what happens is that you add the conditioner in, the water's good now, bacteria starts to thrive, and it will start to feed off of the nitrates, the organic waste that is in our tap water. With the chlorine in our tap water, that keeps it safe for us to drink, but the chlorine is toxic to fish and living organisms. So once the conditioner is added in, that's why the bacteria can then start to prosper. So basically, you've got your tank set up, the bacteria starts to develop, and a lot of people run into issue that's called bacterial bloom. Some people call it new tank syndrome. And what that is that's when you get cloudy water. And a lot of people think, oh, I need to go to the store and buy a bottle of that stuff that is called like a water clarifier, where it will decloud the water basically. In this instance, that usually does not work. So what happens is when you get that cloudy water, that's actual bacteria that is in the water column itself. That bacteria is heterotrophic bacteria, which multiplies extremely fast. It feeds off of the organic waste that's in the water. I'm not going to go into all the technicality of all the different actions of the bacteria and what could cause what, but that's usually what happens. So it's like a white milky cloud in the water, and that's usually a heterotrophic bacteria multiplying very fast, and that gives you your cloudiness in the water itself. It's not 100% harmful to the fish, but it can rob a lot of the oxygen out of the water, kind of almost suffocating the fish in a way, so it's good to have it circulating or like aeration added to it. While that's going on, you will have autotrophic bacteria, which is your long-term ecosystem basically in your tank. The autotrophic bacteria lives on surfaces, and it will consume ammonia that is produced from your fish, turn it into nitrite, reconsume it, and turn it into nitrate. And nitrate is the end result of your nitrogen cycle. That can be taken out two different ways, as far as I know. And that is like in a natural ecosystem, or if you have something similar at home, live plants, would filter out the nitrates. They would feed off of the nitrates, and that would eliminate them slowly over time, as long as the plants have the proper conditions, lighting, CO2, things like that. Or you can physically pull it out, and that would be with water changes. So that would be like your general maintenance on an aquarium. Using something like a gravel vacuum or gravel siphon, you would pull some of the waste out of the gravel and some of the water with it to lower the nitrate levels. So basically that is the nitrogen cycle in like a super simplistic way. There's a lot of other little tiny variants that I'm not going to get into with it, but that is a really common thing. So a lot of people get their aquariums and they want to set up their tanks that day, put their fish in, have it all ready and good to go, and they wonder why their fish end up dying. So a lot of times what happens is that the autotrophic bacteria, the one that tends to break down a lot of that ammonia and process it through your nitrogen cycle, it takes time for it to build up. So it can take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months to have a fully cycled tank, just depending on the type of environment that you have, the type of fish, things like that. The filter is not going to do everything for you. The filter is there to kind of help support, I guess, the ecosystem, to kind of help maintain in between your water changes. But yeah, so there's a few different ways that you can cycle a tank to create its ecosystem. Some people do a fishless cycle where they add in straight ammonia or like fish food or something like that to build up bacteria, to feed it, to get it to colonize. And then there's having the tank all set up and ready and then adding just a couple fish in and kind of using those to test it out. As they produced ammonia, the bacteria will feed off the ammonia, turn it into nitrite, and then reconsume it and turn it into nitrate. And then you have your nitrogen cycle. Testing your water is really good to see where your nitrogen cycle is at, especially before you add in more fish to the aquarium. So a lot of what I'm saying is some people might not agree, disagree, whatever. They might think that I'm completely wrong and that this is misinformation. Who knows, the pet community might come after me or something like that and make a video about it. But this is just like a super dumbed down, simple version of kind of like how ecosystems are developed in aquariums itself. I'm not talking about like out in the wild or anything like that. But basically, it does take time. So it is really good for people to have patience when they're setting up an aquarium if they want it to thrive and they want their fish to be healthy. Other than that, with the nitrogen cycle, a lot of people go, well, isn't there just a chemical that I can add in there to reduce the nitrates if they're so high, blah, blah, blah. No. You can make it less toxic. You can add a chemical in to reduce the toxicity of nitrates, nitrite, and ammonia. It usually still shows up on a test strip or in a test kit. So it's kind of difficult to see like where it's at. A lot of times if the nitrate levels are super high, the fish will be gasping for air up at the surface, things like that. If your nitrate levels are very high for an extended period of time, it's usually, it can cause the pH and alkalinity levels to go down to more of an acidic level. I don't know exactly how all that works, but I've seen it firsthand with aquariums, with setting them up frequently. And, of course, fish don't want to be living in super, super acidic water. Some fish can handle it more than others, but depending on how low it goes, they can only handle it for so long. Some fish will build up a small immunity over time, but eventually it does get to them in a bad way. So basically, no, there is no like chemical, as far as I know, that you can put in there to actually eliminate nitrates completely. You need to either physically pull it out or create more of a natural ecosystem with live plants. So the live plants actually feed off of the nitrates and take those nitrates out of the water itself. It is good to do water changes on aquariums because you will be adding more beneficial minerals and nutrients back into the water and more oxygenated water. But it kind of just depends on the system that you have set up. Everyone's got a different way of doing it, and whatever works for you, and that's okay. There's, in the fish hobby, certain things, yes, there are some sort of a set answer on, when it comes to like actual bacteria and what it does and what it's meant to do and why it's there. But when it comes to a few other things with like fish getting along with each other and things like that, the fish hobby is trial and error. A lot of it is trial and error. So you never know what can happen. Your tank can crash within, a couple hours, or your water can be absolutely terrible in health for the fish, but the fish will do fine for a year. You never know. Certain fish can handle things different ways. But yeah, so I just wanted to come on and talk about that because I know a lot of people in the plant community are also interested in aquariums, which is awesome. It's a lot of fun. It's like creating your own little world, basically. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, leave a comment, or shoot me a message on Instagram, and I'll be happy to try to answer those for you. But this was just a quick little video, kind of just the basics of how the nitrogen cycle is created. Real quick, since I got off track with the heterotrophic bacteria, the one that causes your cloudy water, that one there usually just takes time to go away on its own. You can do water changes. A lot of times it'll rebloom though, because you're adding more nutrients into the water again for it to feed off of. Usually you just want to wait and wait until that bacteria uses up that nutrients, and eventually it'll start slowing down and dying off. And then your autotrophic bacteria that's on your surfaces will build up a lot more and create your more stabilized ecosystem. When you do have this bacterial bloom where it makes your water all cloudy, the simple way of saying it is your ecosystem is not fully formed. It's figuring itself out. It is developing. It's the beginning stages of it. So that's just that in a nutshell, basically. But like I said, if you guys have any other questions, just leave a comment or message me on Instagram, and I'll be happy to try to answer them for you. And hopefully I will be coming up with more videos in the future. If you guys like videos like this and you want more information on like aquarium stuff, let me know. And if there's any other information that you want on plants, or what you want to see from me, go ahead and just let me know. Okay, I will hopefully be back soon for you guys, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.